We're running.
You want to do that, Paul?
We'll have Sean.
I think I guessed.
I think you do.
Oh, good.
Okay, time is 5:31. We'll call the meeting to order. Those present, the three commissioners, the chief, the deputy chief, Kathy Turbine, the two people, different names here, Thomas Roy and James Harding from Laredo, and
Shauna Bentley from Scotland.
Tom Bentley, and the other deputy, Mike Robinson.
So before we head into anything, why don't we have Ms. Bentley lead us through what's going on with the water district, so, because we're paying for her time.
Okay.
Hi, so my name's Shauna. I'm one of the attorneys at Westcott Law in Laconia. I'm working with Paul Fitzgerald on this matter. We recently had a hearing on several pending motions in the Superior Court action. As you are likely aware, there is a pending case in Superior Court that began in 2021. We sought and received an injunction against the water district shutting off the water without prior notice or without court approval. That's been in place since 2021. I'd say probably a month or so ago now, the water district filed a motion to seek collection costs related to the water and to have the injunction terminate. We opposed those, basically arguing that that wasn't permitted under the agreement that we had with the district and that the water district hadn't pursued that correctly procedurally. The court agreed with us in its recent order. I believe this came out on June 2nd. And the main takeaway, as Attorney Fitzgerald has discussed with the chief, is that the court is still with us. It is going to schedule this matter for a final hearing so that we can have the court set a rate for 2022, and it will keep the injunction in place until that time. But it sent a pretty clear warning as part of that order to, I would say to us, saying that this has been going on for a while. We understand that you're still receiving those services. In 2021, when the court issued the initial injunction, we understood that it was an emergency and that we needed more time to work it out. If the water district seeks again in the right way to have the injunction be terminated, then the court might look at it a little bit differently because of the time that has passed and because of the voter activity in the interim. So this next phase is really going to be either coming to an agreement with the water district that we can get voter approval on, or having the court figure it out for us. And it's likely that that litigation, if it goes through the full process, will end with the court setting a rate for 2022 and clarifying what authority the water district has under the tariff to shut off water unilaterally. When the case was initially filed in 2021, we had some procedural or technical arguments that they weren't allowed to do what they did. They amended their tariff, and they're saying that based on the amendments that they've made, they're now allowed to shut off water unilaterally if this happens again in the future. So that's where it stands. I think Attorney Fitzgerald is certainly open to continuing to try to work with the water district, even though that hasn't been particularly successful in the past. I know the last time we came to an agreement, it wasn't approved, and we've tried that a couple times. So that's the status. Is there anything specific that you wanted me to speak to, Chief?
I think it's, from what Attorney Fitzgerald told me, it would probably be better for us to approach the water district with a new agreement that we think would be acceptable to them, rather than like with at the last time we tried to send an agreement or negotiation, and we started lowballing them at 75 grand a year, which they dismissed outright. I think if we came across with something that may be more palatable to what they might accept, it might go through. And my thought process in that was what we all agreed upon in the beginning was like $125,000 or $126,000 a year for the past, for 21 and 22, and then going forward the same price but with a 4% increase that they put in their check tariff I think if we would have offered that, and if it was fully supported by the commissioners, and I think the water district will probably accept that, because that's kind of what they've offered back to us. This is what we'll accept. If we give them that, then I see that we would be bargaining in good faith, and I think it would be looked favorably upon by the court, so that we wouldn't be hit with something that we would not be unexpected, financially.
Right, I think what was discussed at the most recent hearing, or I think the question in the court's mind, is whether we might be able to get further if we engage in some sort of educational campaign with the voters. I know that voter turnout has been an issue, even when we thought maybe we did have the support, we just didn't have the bodies. So clarifying with people the urgency and the logistics of how this process works. I would note the court stated, and I think that's part of what we're considering a clear warning from the court, is like at one point in the order, the court essentially hinted at the fact that the district needs to decide if it wants to continue to have water at all, because we've repeatedly had the rate of pay be voted down. I think it's our understanding that we do want to continue those services, we just need to figure out how.
You had mentioned the 2022, ruling on 2022. You didn't mention 2021 in your comments. We haven't paid them for 2021
Or
or 2022, and we don't have an arrangement for 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way I heard you say that was the reference was that the court might decide what we would owe for 2022
Mm-hmm.
without indicating what we might owe for 2021, and then with the expectation that we'll come to some agreement on our own for 2023. I guess I'm trying to understand
Right.
what they're really saying.
So we brought it in 2021, and I think at that time, we were operating under the understanding that we should be grandfathered under the prior rates. We were saying 2022 forward, we understand that there's maybe not something in paper, so you, court, should set a rate for that if we can't come to an agreement. And that is where that motion practice sort of left off, and then in the interim, the water district amended their tariff. So their position is that they should just be able to charge us what the tariff rates are, and if there was some ambiguity in 2021 and 2022, we'll figure that out here, but their position is that they charge the tariff rates moving forward.
Then the court can go back. The court can go back and say, these are the tariff rates, and these are what you're gonna pay, and that's what you're gonna owe.
They could.
And we don't have, because we don't have an agreement. Well, we had an agreement, but the voters didn't approve it.
Right, I think,
The ratepayers, the taxpayers didn't approve the agreement.
right, and what the water district is saying is the default should be what the tariff says, because that's what explains how everybody else is charged. If we do go to trial, which at this point seems very possible, and the court will be working on scheduling that, the water district will have an expert available to explain all of its rates. And if we wanted to get into the nuts and bolts of it and go over why we think water should cost this much versus this much, we would need to get an expert too, which could be costly. So that's why we've taken this approach so far. The approach being it's better to settle this than to put it in the court's hands or in the hands of a jury, because it's hard to explain, even to the people in this room who are familiar with all of it, right? Trying to explain it to a jury who's coming in cold, how much all these cold numbers should be, would be difficult. So we've decided that if we do go to trial, it would be a bench trial, which means it's just before the court, but it's still a lot of math and logistics to try to have a judge figure out.
I said a jury trial.
We had originally gone for a jury trial. The court made it clear that it would prefer a bench trial, and we had some discussions on that, and we decided to move forward with the bench, just again based on how detailed this is. I can picture a jury's eyes going crossed with all of the math and the rates.
Picture judge's side.
Yeah.
So in the short term, do we need to open up lines of communications with water department, or do we wait until the court date to happen? Or do we do both simultaneously?
I think both will happen simultaneously just by the nature of it. The court stated in its most recent order that it is going to schedule the matter for a final hearing. Part of what I had explained is that the Water District presented a bunch of arguments. Part of the reason that we won is because they just presented them incorrectly. They didn't present them with the right forms in the right way to the court. The court said in its order, you have 30 days to do this the right way if you want to, and then we'll consider it. So it didn't say as much, but my assumption is that the court's waiting to hear whether the Water District wants to bring its own counterclaims to decide how long the trial would be to schedule it.
So we didn't really win.
We didn't win once and for all, we won the battle, which is the Water District are trying to say, let us shut the water off, make them pay us. We said, you're not suing us, we're suing you. The court said, you're right. You have 30 days to figure out if you want to sue them. I'm going to schedule it for a final hearing.
So we're down for a technicality, basically.
As far as the collections argument and the injunction piece goes.
So
That
if
gives
we-
us more time to try to
If
resolve.
we came up with an agreement, we did, and they rejected again, then we're still in the same position,
We are.
which more than likely they're gonna reject it. Because they're set at a certain rate, and if we give in to them,
Mhm.
that means they basically won.
So I think the way to look at it is in the Superior Court litigation process, we're required to participate in mediation. We already did that, and that's how we kind of, it was uncomfortable for both sides, but at the end of the day, we came up with a agreement that both parties signed off on. That was obviously contingent on voter approval. So we've done it before. It's not ever comfortable, but the alternative is leaving it in the hands of a judge, and we can sometimes be surprised by judges' rulings, and there could be a point of law or point of fact that's brought up at trial that is different than what we're discussing here today. So there is that unknown element that comes from putting it in the hands of a judge. If we are able to settle, then we remain in control of the outcome, and there's definitely something to be said for that. So I don't think further efforts at negotiation would be in vain. And if anything, even if we tried them and they weren't successful, it would give us an idea of where the Water District is coming from.
And there again, they could get, whoever they get is more likely going to be on their side, as far as the rates.
Whoever they have testify as an expert.
Yeah,
Right, they wouldn't have somebody come in that disagreed with them.
that's what I mean.
Right.
So,
Right, and if we wanted to do the same thing, it's typically costly to have experts come in. And obviously, we wouldn't be as familiar with the inner workings of their system as their own expert would. So, in general, what we tell clients is, if you can settle, if you can reach an agreement that you're comfortable walking away with, even if it's not something that you like, if it's worth it to you to quote-unquote buy peace and have certainty as to what your outcome is, then do it. Because really, we make the best case that we can and we make the best arguments that we can, but once we go to trial, it's out of our hands. The judge decides for us.
I could ask clarification from Chief and Deputy Belvin. The hydrant at Tilton School came down there through there this evening, thinking the meeting was at the town hall. Has the broken hydrant at Tilton School been removed?
Yeah, it's been about 3 years. It's been since.
It's been broken.
it's broken.
They will not replace it because of litigation, I believe.
You know, I'd like to say it publicly, but I have an issue with that. I've personally supported this thing from the beginning, and I know that the commissioners have supported it. But that school that houses live-in students has had 3 fires in which, in my history, in which that hydrant was used. I've always had I think, somewhat of a relationship with them or felt good about them, but that one sours me. That one sours me to think that we would put money ahead of a place that has had 3 fires in which that hydrant was used, has now been removed. And this is getting ugly. Let's get this resolved. And again, I know you people have tried and have supported it, as have I. That one irritates me. That's not a sign of good faith.
So I guess the next thing is we should come up with some type of agreement and approach them.
Right, I think I mean, it's a muscle that we flexed before, and we've gone through it, even though I don't think anybody liked it. And we've been able to come to an agreement with them before, but it's obviously contingent on voter approval. So I think coming up with a proposal that is likely to be amenable to the water district, and coming up with a plan from a more practical perspective to educate the people that are going to be voting on it, and to make sure people turn out and do the right thing.
Well, we have to get more than 58 voters.
Can I?
Sure.
Just from being involved kind of on the outskirts of this whole thing the whole time, from a voter perspective, if I just want my hydrants to turn on, how, when I go to fight a fire. I think the last time we had the settlement and then we went to the voters, the water district didn't have good answers, we didn't have good answers about what would happen if we don't accept this. And I think the same result's gonna happen if you don't have that education. If we do have a settlement, which I hope we do, we need to have the water districts, or somebody say, if we don't accept this, this will happen. I think that was the biggest thing, like the voters need to know, if we reject this, what's gonna happen? We didn't have a good answer for them last time. I don't know if we can have a good answer for them. But that's, I think they're going into this, they all said they want hydrants, but they don't wanna pay this rate. And then they said, well, if we don't pay this rate, what's gonna happen? And no one had an answer.
And I think that's maybe some clarity or a hint at the judge's thinking that came out of this order. Because the last time we were having those discussions, it was like, well, we have this preliminary injunction. We can keep trying to work towards this common goal, but if we don't, then we still have the injunction as a safety net until the court figures it out. What the court's saying with this order is, we've held out for a long time, you're coming to the end of the line.
Well, and along Sean's point, I mean, it's been a long time trying to get this whole thing resolved, but, to get a resolution would certainly behoove all of us. And again, I know the two people have supported right along as I have personally, but, anyway,
So I have a question. So what if we go to mediation and we come to an agreement, both sides are unhappy with it or whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. Does it still need voter approval, or can the court just order that the district, okay, this is the agreement and that's the end of it?
So what we've asked is, in the absence of an agreement, the court order an amount. I think that if we came to an agreement with the water district and we filed a joint request with the court, that the court approve it. So essentially, we both agree that this is what the outcome should be if we went to trial, so just sign off on this now. I think that would be an option.
And would that be legal for us to pay that amount without voter approval?
I think so, and then I would want to confirm it, obviously, but my inclination is yes, because what we'd be asking for is for the court to order it. So it would result in the same thing, an order from the court saying what the rate is. And if the water district agreed with it, then we wouldn't have to go through the final piece.
If the court orders us to do something, if we don't do it, then the chief is in contempt of court, and he's gonna find time at the Iron Bar Hotel.
I thought it was the chairman. He wasn't the last time.
He was the one that was served, it wasn't me.
I was the one that
Well,
served.
I'm just asking that because, I mean, we thought we had a good mediation. I mean, the mediator said no one's gonna leave this room happy, and no one did.
Yeah.
Both sides.
Mhm.
But we thought we had something that was gonna go through.
Mhm.
It didn't,
Right.
and it took 5 months to get to that point.
Right, so maybe that's what we focus on in this phase, is doing all the things that we did well the last time, so coming to an agreement on who pays what, when, and what the terms of that are, but then focusing on the what if next phase, because this last agreement that we had, we all thought it was gonna get approved. And that's part of why the court ruled the way that it did. But we could come to an agreement on If there's not voter approval, then we still seek. We'll both agree to support this motion with the court requesting that this agreement be approved.
I mean, based on the new tariffs, I mean, the amounts are, I almost feel double of what this was. I don't know what the exact amount was, but, you know, they'll say 130,000.
Right.
That was a fixed amount, and then it had a 4% kicker every year. I mean, we'd have to have something, because otherwise, I think it was figured out, it could be
It was very expensive.
like over $200,000, and I don't want to use a scare tactic, but it's a scare tactic.
Well, it's not really a
Yeah,
tactic.
if
it's
we have a known agreement, this is what it's going to cost us,
Mhm.
and not leave it arbitrarily to a judge.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we've talked about when you prepare for a mediation or any kind of settlement discussions, you think of what your BATNA would be, which is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. For if the question is what is the worst case scenario, what's the, like if we try this case 10 times, what's the worst ruling that the judge is going to issue? The worst case scenario is that it agrees with whatever rate the water district says, because the water district has an expert and is able to present all of the math and reasoning for their rates, and then requires the district to pay that and rules that it will no longer uphold the injunction. So the water district wins on its rates, we have to pay those rates, even though those rates weren't approved by voters, and the water district can shut off the water unilaterally if we don't pay those rates, which is what it can do for regular customers. I think we obviously have arguments that we would present about that, about public policy and the fact that the fire district certainly shouldn't be treated like a regular household. But if the question is what's the worst case scenario, that's the worst case scenario.
You know, I could just say one thing at one point I forgot to make about what Sean was saying earlier was our insurance rating has already dropped 2 points, Chief?
It went from a 3 to a 4 because of the water district not cooperating with ISO.
So when it comes time to sell this, whether we sell it or the water district sells it, what happened to my insurance costs during that? Because if my insurance costs are going up $75 because of that rating drop, and again, everybody in the community, whether you're in the hydro district or not, shares that rating. If my insurance costs are going up $75 and this proposed water district settlement is going to cost me $25, well, that's simple, simple math.
$75 times 1,000.
Well, however it's
Or
figured,
how
but I
many
mean, the point being
households are
is,
in the district, I mean, that's
correct,
1,000 is simple math.
Sure.
$75,000.
sure. But anyway, just something we need to, and we've never been able to answer that question, and I gotta believe that answer is out there. What happens to your rating, to your cost if the rating changes?
You have to ask your individual company, because every company uses the ISO rating in their formula. Their formulas are trade secrets.
Right.
So they don't so Mutual of Omaha doesn't know what, some other company's charging.
Gotcha.
They don't want to relieve them of their competitive advantage by having that formula secret. So every company uses that formula in a different way. Some companies don't use the ISO rating at all. But you'll never know because
Right.
it's a trade secret.
Right.
But in the end, if they do use the formula, the ISO rating, and the ISO rating goes up, your rate will go up somehow,
Right.
unless they reduce the percentage, this. But it's not a good thing for your ISO rating to get
No,
higher.
by no means.
You want to lower it.
I guess what I'd like to do is maybe come up with an agreement, present it to them. I don't want to give in to them. That's the last thing, because you give in and next year you can go higher. And where they got the $200,000, I have no idea. Did they just throw out a number, or is that?
I think they cited something from the minute saying that had been set aside. Is that what you mean from the
Oh,
budget?
we have money set aside.
No, I understand that, but I don't want them to keep, if we lose, that means next year they can go up, because they won, so they'll go up again. I just would like to settle it and offer them fair, what's fair, and just hopefully they settle for it. I mean, I think we did lowball them a little bit last time. We offered them, I think, 75,000.
But at the same time, we said, this is just a starting point.
Yeah,
Let's sit
that was a
down.
starting point. And I think that was a little low. I think we did lowball them a little bit. But there again, they came back with a figure that was a lot higher.
Right, and so we can talk about whether we want to re-engage the mediator or if we want to just go back and forth, sort of informally. But I think the benefit at this point is that we both know what we were willing to agree to. So it's not like, usually the first shot across the bow in mediation is something that makes the other party want to flip the table over and walk out. And then we end up meeting somewhere in the middle, and both parties leave unhappy. And that's what happened last time, it just didn't get approved by the voters. So we can start with the progress that we've already made. But I do think it's a worthwhile exercise because you can continue to engage in negotiations even up to being in the hallway outside of the first day of litigation. And you can settle up until the court issues its ruling even if we've already gone through trial. So there are all these opportunities throughout the process to remain in control of what the outcome is.
I think it's important that we remain in control.
Right. And both sides have an incentive to do that, because nobody ever knows for sure which way the court's going to go.
What about legal fees? If we were to settle, they pay theirs, we pay ours?
That's usually how it works, yeah. And we tried, so they had filed that motion, raising arguments that weren't correctly before the court, and including references to negotiations that we were saying should be confidential, because that's what the rules are. The court said, you're right, they should have done that, we will keep that confidential, but we think that you both tried in good faith, so we're not going to award attorney's fees. And that's not uncommon. The courts in the state and in the U.S. in general are very hesitant to award attorney's fees either way.
And I think we're up where near $30,000 on attorney's fees on this matter already.
Right, and obviously that stops once, if you reach a resolution, it's over.
So I guess we should negotiate again, or come up with a price to negotiate.
Right, and I think if the fees are a consideration, what we can talk about doing is setting maybe a threshold that you authorize Paul and I to negotiate within, and then if we don't feel like we're making progress, we can decide when to pull the plug and just focus on litigation, so we're not operating on both fronts throughout the process. But it is a worthwhile.
So in other words, you want us to come up with a number, and not go with this cap here, a cap number, and you guys can negotiate with it? All right.
And I think maybe the commissioners need to have a meeting just
Yeah.
for that purpose.
Yeah.
Right, and we can,
I agree.
You agree with that, Eric?
Yep.
That's me. Pass that.
Anybody got anything else for?
Thank you, Shauna. Appreciate it coming in.
thank you.
Thank you. We'll be seeing you again.
I'm sure we will.
Nobody needs anything else?
No? What's that?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Nice to see you now, station.
Isn't that refreshing?
Okay, next on the agenda is correspondence, but do we want to,
Yes.
these gentlemen here for,
We can move to that.
yeah, let's do that. No sense keeping you for the meeting. I'm sure you want to hear this.
It's been riveting. Jim used to be a selectman, he's been there.
Okay, we'll move on to, I don't see it on the agenda here anyhow.
So
It's not.
it's mostly under old business, and these gentlemen, Valero Construction, and this is the construction company that the commissioners approved to hire, and basically they sent us the contract. Contract went to Primex, for review and comment, and then went to Attorney Fitzgerald for review and comment. Those comments came back. All those comments have been amended in this document, and I've reviewed it several times and gone back and forth with their administrative assistant to make sure it is perfectly correct. And so all I need from the commissioners is a motion for the commissioners to authorize me to sign the contract so Lorero can move forward with the program.
Okay. Is there anything you gentlemen would like to ask us? Or?
Oh, no, we've been going back and forth with the chief. I mean, we know exactly what we need to do. I think there's an amendment to you, right?
Yeah, I'll talk about that after this part.
Yeah, no,
I just wanted to ask Paul if you had seen the final.
I have not seen the final contract.
Okay.
Yeah, the building committee has not seen the final contract. Because we went over all the, with the building committee, we went through all the details that they wanted to make sure happened within the contract, and that did take place.
Let me ask you something. Paul. Is this something you want to see before we sign it?
I think the changes that we outlined, well, first of all, welcome, Tom.
thank you. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you. Thank you for accepting the work, and we look forward to working with you. So the document that we reviewed was the draft, and if Lisa Martin is the expert on this stuff, so we kind of defaulted to her input, and every change that she would like to make to this, the chief integrated into, I assume.
I did confer with
integrated into
Lisa
that.
on it, and she said it was correct.
So after it was revised, Lisa saw it or no?
No, I made sure all the revisions that the building committee wanted was included in my notes going to them, and she said they were. So that's,
And I guess the main part of the document that was missing when we saw it was the schedule of values, or the owner's criteria.
bonus criteria.
Owner's criteria, which we have since
Yeah.
discussed with the chief as a committee, and I assume those were added.
They were.
So those were the only things, Paul, that you know, as we reviewed it. And if all that was integrated into the final contract, then I don't think the building committee had any other concerns.
So you would be happy with us signing it without looking at it or reading it, or?
I have Lisa review it.
I would, well, so there's two ways to look at this. The chief has reviewed it, take his word for it, or have the building committee review it in addition to that. My personal feeling, my personal opinion is that I trust the chief to make the changes that we outlined. So I have no problem with that document. If the chief assures us that he made the changes and they were reviewed by legal, then I'm fine with that.
How do you guys feel?
I think we should have the chief sign
Sign?
the contract. I think we should authorize the chief signing the contract.
Well, I think we have to sign it, don't we?
You can authorize me to sign it, or you can.
Well, one of the aspects of the contract is who's the owner's representative, and I think that's something the commissioners are going to have to determine, because there can only be one point person. You know, we can't go through this process by committee. I mean, we all need to take a step back and have one contact person, and that's actually in the contract. So at some point, we need to designate that person. And this is probably the best time to do it, you know, the owner's representative.
The building committee recommended that I be
Yeah.
the point of contact.
So the building committee recommended that the chief
Okay,
be
okay.
that
Yeah, that person has to be available during
Okay,
working
no,
hours to
I get it, I just,
phone calls and answer questions. It can't be something that one of us does at night.
no, I know, I understand. What do you think, Eric?
I'm just concerned with that, if the building committee hasn't looked at it, or we haven't looked at it, just, we had a sticky wicket earlier in this process, and I just want to make sure we don't repeat, we haven't repeated it or not repeating it.
The document was emailed out.
What was the sticky wicket?
There was a process that involved the chairman of the committee and another member and the chief.
Other committee members weren't
Yeah,
contacted.
and I just want to make sure.
That was a sticky wicket, is that what you call it?
Yeah, I call it a sticky
That was
wicket.
not a sticky wicket.
All right.
I don't want to go into detail, but that was not a sticky wicket.
All right. I trust the chief and the station committee. They do, I mean, they have an expert on that committee, so I'm okay. I'm okay.
My personal feeling is, as the chairman of the building committee, we're going to keep our finger on the pulse. We're going to be in contact with the chief, as I assume you gentlemen will as well, to make sure that, you know, that one of the things I'm going to be looking at is this document right here, which is the schedule. I mean, we're behind the schedule already pretty significantly, and it's going to be tough to make that up. And, you know, that's one of the things that the chief will have his finger on that pulse to make sure that, you know, we're moving forward. There's a lot of work to be done between now and next March. And I don't intend on, you know, just, you know, have at it, guys. That's not my intention.
Okay, I guess I'll make a motion to chief can sign the document, I'll be in charge of it.
Okay.
You second?
I second.
And move and second it, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we also need a motion by the commissioners to name me as the agent.
Was it agent or was it something?
The owner's representative.
Owner's
I
representative.
make a motion that we name Chief Sitar as the owner's representative.
I'll second it. It's been moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Here's a letter to them that would come out of the contract. And then finally, there is the amendment to the contract, which is to include the Sanborn Road property into the contract for evaluation, so that Lorero will do the evaluation on, you know, of this piece of land, as well as the Park Street property, and with that evaluations and with the space needs project that they're going to do, come up with a recommendation or options for the commissioners to go forward. And the cost to add that option of looking at Sanborn Road property, which I've sent all the documents out to you, is $15,000. And that's the exact same cost that they're charging us to, within the schedule of values, to do the Park Street property. So I believe that's a fair value, but that it's up to the commissioners if they want to include that amendment to this contract. And you would have to do a motion to, if you wanted to do that.
Because the contract, because all of the documentation so far, including, you know, this contract was put through the building committee, I suggest that that amendment also be run through the building committee. Because what you're doing now is you're amending the contract that we so closely monitored and modified and ensured that it was in the fire district's best interest. And we had a schedule of value that was $100,000, and this is what we were going to get. And now you're asking to change that without having presented that to the building committee, and I suggest it might be best if the building committee had the opportunity to review that. And, I mean, you guys are in charge of the money, so the $15,000, I don't want, I'm not part of that discussion. But I would like to be part of the discussion with regard to the actual amendment. And I suggest that happen.
I'll show you the copy, just so you can see it.
And knowing that I'm not the building committee, right? So I think everybody in the committee should.
I guess, what is your reservation?
What is my
The
reservation?
commissioners asked the building committee to include that discussion of the Sanborn Road property.
Well, because it's changing this contract document that we've poured over word for word for months. And now we're sliding this amendment in without reviewing it at all. Now, I'm not saying there's anything untoward. I just would, if this is a document that we've had under the microscope, I think adding this document to it should also be placed under that same microscope.
And I don't disagree, I'm just concerned about, anything that would delay, anything that would slow the project down.
Gotcha. What did I say with respect to the schedule? But this is, honestly, this is a 15% change in the value of this contract, and potentially a large deviation from the original scope.
Yes.
So those are my concerns, and I want to make sure, as you all know, when we get before the district in March, no hanky-panky. There cannot be any.
You're right, yeah, because it's happened before.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. I just want the opportunity to look at it, have the committee vote on this, because we voted on this.
Right.
We should vote on
I
this.
agree.
And that probably doesn't delay the start of the project.
When is our next committee meeting? Next week?
Monday, 12th.
So by Monday evening next week, we could have this authorized. Or potential modification thing. But I suggest that this get, distributed.
I will email it.
Go ahead.
I have a question. Where is if that's $15,000 coming from? That's my first question.
So it would come from the land and building fund.
But how much do we have in that fund at the current time?
That's a few hundred.
600,000. So
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I know we have added, I believe we may have added 100,000 this
we
year.
did.
And that was it, and I just want to make sure we're not overexpending or,
And we made the commissioners agents to the fund so that you can spend out of that fund as necessary, as you see fit.
my next question is, so the building committee meets on Monday,
Yes.
then we have to agree that we don't meet again until the second week in July, so almost a month later.
Or do we want to meet?
We have another pressing issue that we may have to meet with as well, so we,
You can vote on this by email.
no,
No? Okay, sorry. They
Well,
got
but we
you
can
here,
say
Kevin.
Yeah, we can have them right up to you guys.
We have to meet on another issue. We can consider that at that meeting
I
as
just,
well.
again, I don't want to, taking Mr. Blaisdell's comments, I don't want to delay the process anymore. I mean, okay, 6 days is okay.
I think
But if
that-
we're going to meet until July to approve,
Well, let's ask the gentleman, if you are assessing the Park Street site, would you be assessing this site at the same time, or would they be like two separate assessments?
In order to do the program and compare them equally, we'd have to go right on top of each other, otherwise we start designing something that's maybe not fit here. So you'd want to know, as you're going along through the process, we don't want to get too far down the road with Park Street and then start assessing this and then spend all the money that we've spent on Park Street and come back and have to redo something for this site.
Just peek through the blinds, it's right out the window.
You already walked away into that.
You know, I might make the recommendation that if you someone makes an amendment to approve this only upon the building committee approval, you wouldn't have to meet again. So you could get an approval from the building committee as a yay vote, and then you would already have your yay vote as long as there's no amendments made to it.
Again, he's a select.
Robert, what was it?
No, I was actually going down that way, in my thinking.
I mean, I guess we could do that. You want to make a motion, Eric?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that, I'm trying to think how to word it, that we add an amendment for the Sanborn Road property upon approval, or contingent of approval by the building committee. Does that make sense? Worded right?
It's called an alternate site assessment, if you want
Alternate, what is it, alternate?
Alternate
to.
site
Site
assessment.
assessment.
Oh, I gotta write that out. Alternate site assessment.
Do you want to rephrase that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, make a motion that we approve the alternate site assessment contingent upon the station building committee, the building committee's approval.
Sound all right, Kathy?
Approve the open lines.
Not sure it's used for approval, but
Pending.
maybe review.
Review of the building committee. Commissioner Power made a motion that they approve the alternate site assessment and review of the building committee.
Review and approval.
Yes, review and approval. That should do it.
By the building committee.
Right, by the building committee, okay. Second?
I do it.
I'm on the committee, so you
Okay, I'll second. Moved and second. Any questions? I hear none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chief, has the terms and conditions of this, I assume they're identical to the terms and conditions of the main contract? Is that,
Yes, it becomes an addendum to the contract.
so is there any need for legal to look at this?
I don't think so.
Okay. To me, it looks pretty straightforward. It really does.
It'll all tie back into the contract for change orders as well, so you're covered through your contract on change orders. That's
So-
a change in the contract.
Will every change order come with the terms and conditions?
No.
No.
We didn't have to put the terms.
We didn't, because it was brand new, we wanted to make sure
Yeah,
it
we
was
just
very
weren't
thorough
sure.
and there was no,
So with this document, then, these terms and conditions,
If this is approved by the building commission, you don't need to even worry about
We
that.
have a
so
non-licensed
there's actually two documents in here. One of them is
that was done by Warren.
Yeah, that's the one that Jim
for
gave
this
the chief.
purpose.
So this is just a
So-
quotation.
Why
That's
wouldn't we
right.
take,
Okay.
that money
And
is
that's-
not in the Bland
yes.
building
This
fund,
is
that's
just
separate.
That's except line for signature.
Yes, that's it. We don't need to include this, because we didn't know if this palace was gonna be handled, so we came to make sure we had all the right paperwork.
Right.
It goes to the building.
Right, so, and that's, the commissioners do not have permission to spend on that without, you know, they have to go through the trustees.
We brought extra copies of the original, if you wanted.
But
if you wanted to look
there's
at it.
$98,000,
It's in the
it's
change.
$49,
I think
not more.
it's-
And these are the final.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one, these are the copies that the
That's
chief
why it's
reviewed,
separated here,
the
it's
legal counsel
non-lapsing.
made the
Right.
modifications.
And it has to be
review with
drawn
our
down.
office of the
Yes.
chief.
And that's
So
what
these
we
are the
do.
original.
So this
She
is,
says-
the original
And
contract is
this is
100.
the amendment.
Yeah.
So as you'll see.
Yeah, and all you gotta do is really sign this, you don't need the back.
Right.
That's like next Monday, right?
And,
Should we get started about that conversation?
Or someone we can do it earlier. I'll ask Kathy if we go through that by.
Yeah. All right, sounds
I
good.
think it's going back to.
You like
To Kathy.
Yes,
This amendment,
yes.
can the building committee, can this be distributed to the building
It
committee?
can go out via email.
I'll email it tonight.
And can
when I
it be
get home.
voted on by email?
No,
No,
Okay.
so that, we'll have to have that meeting on Monday. You
Okay.
guys do that.
No, the original council was not, or it's not, lapsed, it's not.
right, it lapsed, and then they brought it back and made it non-lapsing. So,
Because before it was
Was your
the
vice chair on that?
yes, it did.
Oh, yes, I was emailed.
And we had to reword the
Yes.
the fund so that it.
It's non-lapsing.
It's non-lapsing.
This is very exciting. To get going.
I'm uncontrolled.
We're ready.
I couldn't agree more. You know, that
We'll walk out there with us.
Oh,
All right, I saw some truck and trailers.
We have any more stuff to say to the gentlemen?
No, we look forward to working with you.
Yeah, we look forward to it too, so we're ready to go.
So,
Great.
yeah, you wait for a phone call, or whatever, and we'll get going.
Sounds good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys.
Thank
you.
Have an awesome night, all right? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Yep.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you. too.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you.
Thank
You don't need it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
You get my card still, right? Okay. Just call
Thank you
me.
very much.
My cell number's on there too. all right?
Thank you, good to see you again.
Chief, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Have an awesome night. Thank you.
Good night now.
How come you guys changed the meeting place to here? Is this,
Because Tilton Town Hall is in a
Tilton Town
mess.
Hall
is what?
It's a mess.
Oh,
Doing a lot of paving.
is this the
No,
new,
they are having a meeting tonight.
This is where your meeting will be next Monday.
is this the new go-to meeting place then for the commissioners?
Depends how the meeting goes tonight with town hall, because the town
Yes.
hall employees don't want to be in town hall during the weather abatement, they want to be here, so we'll see.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right. Chief, I just want you to understand, it's not that I don't trust you on this, I just want to make
Perfectly
sure
fine.
that you.
Just smiling.
The
Yeah.
chief, the chief doesn't want
I think also, Paul, it's a good idea for you guys to review it, because you don't want somebody to come back and say, the chief was the only one that got to see it.
Right,
This way here, we say the building committee looked at it, the chief looked at it.
right.
And more people that look at it, you know,
No, that's, I agree.
it looks better.
I agree. All right.
Okay, can we move on? Correspondence. Ken Finmore.
Oh, yes. I sent copies of his letters. There were two, one appointing Paul Blaisdell to the Budget Committee, and the other one reappointing Jason Wright to the Budget Committee.
We have to vote on.
No, just letting you know,
to.
because he appoints
Yeah,
them
you did.
as the moderator. And then, of course, the tax lien certified letters that we received from the Northfield Town Clerk, tax collector.
Oh, should we have mentioned that to the legal counsel, that whatever,
Oh, they know.
I think
settlement we come to, obviously.
would relieve that.
Yes. And then just more court documents, which you received copies of.
That one from the court is fascinating reading.
Isn't it?
All 13 pages of it?
Yes.
Have to read it twice to even understand the
Understand.
words.
Yes.
Never mind what they're trying to say.
Yeah, but all these things are underlined, you couldn't click on them.
I
No,
know.
there was nothing.
Nothing,
No links.
There's no links.
there's no links.
Come on.
It came through that way, that's how they do stuff.
I know, but to me, in the real other world, it says, click on me.
We're talking the other world and then the legal world.
Well, because they made reference to some cases, I want to look at those cases.
Well, you can.
You can
Google it.
you can Google them.
Is this an opportunity where I might say something so I can head home?
Go ahead, absolutely.
Okay, couple things. Number one, I sent an email out to all of the members of the station committee, asking everyone to affirm their commitment to be on the committee. And I heard back from one. And he's been an active player. So the chief had mentioned he was going to contact a couple of the firefighters who are on. Have you heard back from them?
I've only had contact with one of them, and he's still all set with
Okay.
participating. The other one I have not seen yet.
Okay. So we're struggling with a couple absentee members every meeting, and we still have one vacancy, right?
Yes.
So what I'd like to do is just kind of encourage everybody on that facilities committee to come to the meetings. Now, having said that, you're going to hate me, Tim. You're going to hate me. I'm leaving for overseas. I will not be at next Monday's meeting. The problem is I have no choice. I will, and now, if we can move the meeting to Tuesday, I'll be able to join remotely. Or if we can have the meeting on Friday. But I cannot, I'll be in the air on Monday. So my concern is that we will not have a quorum.
I'm okay with changing the meeting to Tuesday.
I do not know if this room will be available for Tuesday, and I don't know about town hall.
Planning board meeting.
Yes, but we won't know about,
I don't know where, because they're discussing it right now.
yes.
Can
We'll
we
know
meet
more
in
tomorrow.
Northfield? We could be at the fire
At
station.
the fire station?
Or at Northfield Town Hall.
Well, if you meet at Northfield Town Hall, we'll be in the basement.
No thanks.
Yeah,
Instead of lead, it's mold.
yeah. Take your pick.
Choose your poison. Which one will kill you?
I mean, you had meetings at the fire station down in Northfield, Northfield Fire
Do
Station.
we have Wi-Fi there?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm okay with that. It's your decision.
Just Monday, I know I'm going to be in the air on Monday. I can, if we could do it Friday, that would be fine.
The 9th, you mean, this Friday?
Friday the 9th,
Oh, this week, Friday?
yeah.
When's graduation? Anyone?
Oh, my
Guilford and Laconia have graduation both that night, so I would assume Wisconsin does too.
God. Yeah,
That would be,
well, it was last Saturday.
That was motorcycle weekend.
That's true.
I mean, if all we're doing is reviewing and voting on that,
That's
on
all,
this
that's
amendment,
probably all we'd be doing, because there's nothing else to.
right, exactly.
Well, the only way they can vote, if you want to do it via email, the only way you can do it is you have to send it out BCC so that they can only reply and nobody else sees the response.
Okay,
That's the only way you can do it.
but we can do it that way.
If you want to do it that way.
What I want to do is encourage as many members of that committee as possible to vote. And if we have to do it in person, I suspect that some of the members are not going to vote because they won't be there. And I'm sorry, I just came up so that I could.
That's okay, that's the only way I can think of that for it to be legal is that you send it out BCC to everybody and then they respond back to,
Okay,
Do
can
you
I,
want me to take care of that?
could you?
I can.
Could you send this document to everybody in the manner that Kathy just
Yes,
described?
I can.
And then we'll all, are you fine with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm perfectly fine with it. And
What's the deadline going to be to respond?
well,
Monday.
I would say no
Well, you told them guys Monday you have an answer for them, so.
Yes, well, I was thinking maybe if we could do it sooner than that, but tomorrow's Wednesday, yeah,
Right.
Monday.
That
Yeah.
close of business Monday, that way they'll have they weren't gonna get their answer on Monday because we'd be meeting Monday night.
Right.
They'll have their answer by
Tuesday
Tuesday.
morning.
And then with respect to what to send them, I guess, the first page, the double-sided first page.
Yeah, the rest of it is
They
already,
mixed it up on me. This, right?
yes,
The cover page and the signature page,
yes.
right? Is adequate, right? Because the rest of it's the terms and conditions and the quotation.
Right,
Well, honestly, okay, it's got the cost on it, so,
yes.
okay. I think that's I think that's the best way to do it, honestly.
All right.
I really do.
That's
And
the,
then-
yeah, that's the only way you can do it legally, so that nobody's swayed by
Yep.
anybody else's answer.
Yep, no, I get it, I totally get it. And then I guess in that same email, we can cancel the meeting for Monday. Or if you'd like, I can send out an email canceling the meeting for Monday.
Okay, why don't you send out the email canceling the meeting for Monday,
And
as
I'll-
the chair?
That's what
And I'll
I would
make a note
suggest.
stating that the reason, the vote on this has to be back by the end of business Monday.
Yes.
Okay,
And this will go out tonight.
okay,
Put this out tonight.
awesome. Are you good with that?
I'm
Phil?
good with that.
Yeah.
Makes a good alternative.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Then we'll get more, hopefully more response.
Yeah, I hope. And then, to kind of carry that thought further, you're really gonna hate me now. The next meeting I can attend is in August,
So,
Oh,
August 21st.
if you read this, it says it's probably gonna take them about 30 days to do this
Right.
assessment. And if we give it to them on Tuesday, look at 30 days out, we're gonna be in August anyways. So, well, the end of July anyways. So we'll wait till we get something back. Or I'll be in contact with them and I'll know when something's coming back and then I can contact you to schedule a meeting.
So here's the thing, the big problem with this Monday was I would be in an airplane. The rest of the time I will be available for remote.
Okay.
So if we absolutely have to have a meeting night, it just means it's a tremendous time difference. So it's 12 hours. It's because I'm tired, not
are
because
we
I'm
talking
angry.
different days?
Is it a different day too for you?
Yes, yeah, it's a day ahead.
The next day?
It's 12 hours.
It's
13
tomorrow?
hours ahead. Yeah, it's tomorrow.
So if it's at 6 PM here, it's 7 AM there.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, boy.
7 AM tomorrow.
All right.
Well, we'll be
Thank you,
able,
Paul, for allowing me.
That's fine.
we'll be able to coordinate when we need to have the next meeting based on what we're hearing back from.
Sure. Sure. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You all set there? Report of the committee, and the building committee.
We just got it.
We're cruising right along here, Paul. You're doing
Yeah, you
good.
Just skip that one, Paul.
I looked at that agenda tonight and went, oh my God, we're moving.
Chief's report.
All right, I had sent out the chief's report last Friday, I think. I hope everybody had a chance to review it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Go ahead.
So in the first section under budget, you continue to put the 2022 operating budget in there.
Yes.
Is that because they're still outstanding?
No. What there really is, we don't have the final documentation from our audit yet.
Okay,
So
that was
you
one
can
of my
take out the
questions.
top line and
I
just
can
do
take
the
out the
audit.
top line, sorry.
Anybody got anything? Go ahead there.
So, same section, you said that we're 40.1% and we're 41% through the year. That is closer than I recall being,
That is very accurate.
and so is there, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to
I can tell you,
deep
I
dive,
can
so is
tell
there anything
you,
that's like jumping out at you?
yes, so we're overextended on overtime so far. And one other line item which escapes me off the top of my head. And the main reason for that is that we were waiting for an individual to start that was on active duty military. And so that's where the overtime went. But as I notified you later on in this email, he sent me an email just last Friday saying that he said he's had some changes in his life with his son, some medical thing going on, and he cannot take the position. Fortunately, we also had another position opening because one of our firefighters left to go to Manchester. So we did have a process today, and we have I'll be interviewing 3 candidates, and I will be appointing 2 of those 3 after next Wednesday. The interviews from my interview is next Wednesday with them, and I will make a decision on who we hire after that. So the overtime should come to a halt by the middle of July-ish, by the time we get these folks up and running.
And who did we lose?
Theo Partington, he's
How long has he been on?
2 years.
2 years, yeah,
Yeah.
good guy,
Real good,
real good guy.
young kid, wants to go to Manchester, be a big city.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Be young, you.
Yeah.
Grass is not always green.
No.
What's an
Go ahead.
what's an HPUE device?
High-powered user equipment. So we have Wi-Fis in the ambulances and the engines, and the Wi-Fis that we have are devices that are really made to be sitting on a desk, and we get them bouncing around in the trucks and the ambulance, and they keep losing connections, and it's very frustrating. So these high-powered user equipment devices, not only does it create a stable Wi-Fi environment, but it also creates a high-powered stable Wi-Fi environment so that the Wi-Fi would even reach into houses where we bring out like cardiac monitor in so that we could, fax EKGs to hospitals from the house rather than coming back to the ambulance or using the engine where we have that stuff. So it's an improvement that we need to make, and it also uses the AT&T broadband, nationwide broadband network, which is specifically for public safety, and that's why it can be at a higher power. The Wi-Fi devices that most people use are like at a quarter of a watt, and the high power user equipment, because it's public safety, is 6 times that power, and so it's much more effective.
Any idea what that costs?
It's about $1,000 per unit.
How many? Just two?
We bought 4. They're being installed over the next month, like a week apart.
How long does it take to install?
They said 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, so it's not that you pull a piece of equipment out for a week?
No.
Cell tower's operational, come on.
Up and
Don't
running.
tease us anymore.
It's up and running. We're collecting rent. And the owner of the tower is actively seeking other tenants to go on the tower right now. I had a meeting today with Liberty Utilities because the emergency generator for AT&T is a naturally gas-fired generator, but it doesn't have any natural gas. And there was no connection for them. They need to extend the gas line across the front of Park Street to pass the last telephone pole and then come into the site. And that gas line will feed every emergency generator in that site that is not a fire department emergency generator. we already have natural gas to our generator. When they put that line in for our generator, even though they knew other people were gonna need it, they did not size the line appropriately. So they have to put a whole new line in for everybody else.
Who eats that cost?
That's AT&T's cost. We did not spend a penny on anything in that facility. No, we bought locks.
You see how many dry hydrants you got? Silver Lane has been installed.
Silver Lane's been installed. We have the permit in hand for Sanborn Road, although we're still waiting for supplies to do that project. And we also have the permit in hand for Jay's Marina. We do have enough supply on hand to get that in, and that should go in about a month and a half. That should be installed.
E2 had a depth tank?
Yes, that was
Is
under
that the
warranty.
older one or the newer one?
It's the older one.
Is that an issue we're gonna have with the E1 down the road?
No, that
Since
was,
it's a year older?
that was under a recall under warranty.
E1 already has the new,
Oh, it
Has
has,
the- yeah.
okay. That's what I'm trying to get at.
yeah, it already had it done because it's a newer truck.
The Vista Heights, new location,
Still working on that. So I'm on my third person right now.
how many houses are up there?
There's plenty of houses up there, but I'm trying to find I'm trying to use the houses to have the best ideal location for the cistern for us. Not only to service Vista Heights, but also Orchard on the other side. And so that's my dilemma, and that's my project where I'm asking the individuals where their own property where I think it would work best. The first person agreed to it, and we were all set, ready to go, and then at the last minute, they reneged on signing the easement for us to put it in. He says, you can put it in, but I'm not gonna grant the easement. It's like, $70,000, $80,000 worth of materials, and then if he tells us to take it out a year later, I don't wanna spend all that money without having the easement. The second person that I talked to, they sounded very favorable to it, and then when I finally tried to pin them down on it, they started ghosting me, so I'm moving on to the person across the street. But this person is seasonal, he's only up here in the summer, and it's been hit and miss contacting him on that. But he's got all his flowers planted now, so I know he's got a weed garden, so I know when I can grab him.
So anybody else got anything for Chief?
That page.
I have the salary.
The only other thing I might say in there is that under the apparatus, I don't have A1 in there. A1 currently is out of service. It's down with Greenwood Fire Apparatus because the air conditioner compressor kind of blew up and filled the whole AC system with metal shavings, so they have to take care of that down at Greenwood. And while it's there, they're going to rebuild the rear doors because the latching system, though they're working and operating, we keep having to readjust them because they've been used so much that some of the parts are worn out, and so we wanted to rebuild those doors so they're working properly. This is the ambulance that has about 100,000 miles on it. It's a 2017 ambulance.
When do we place the order to replace that?
I'm going, at this district meeting, not to replace it, but to add another ambulance to the fleet is what my request will be.
Line 4332, pressurized hydrants, $55,000.
On the budget.
Yeah.
Yes.
Page 4, bottom.
Is that just the bills that have been received for,
Yes.
so not paid?
It's not paid. So when we get a bill, it has to go into the system, and that's how the auditors can keep track of
Yes.
how much they want to when we haven't come to agreement how much they wanna.
So that sort of corresponds with those liens and the quarters.
Oh, no, those liens and
They're
everything
both-
were prior.
Those liens are only for 2021 and 2022.
Yeah, but it looked like the quarterly amounts were.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
22 one, I think they did quarterly. On the 21 one, I think they just did a whole number, a lump sum number.
Yes, we still have to plug the numbers in.
So does that come out, so when we say that the budget is 40.1%, is that including that number in it, or is it not including that number?
That number's included.
So it's really, because we haven't expended it truly, that, but we have to, but again, we have to budget for it, and plan
Right.
for it.
We have to account for it.
But we haven't actually.
Oh, no, wait a minute.
No, that's
That,
not.
that's prior to, the amount is prior to pressurized hydrants. So that's not included.
So if we had that 55,000, we could potentially go over budget.
Oh, we'd be way over.
We'd be
budget.
way over. That's not added.
Can I just ask you about seems like there's more mutual aid calls this past month for both ambulance and then.
So because we're having a problem with the last report we were running, we were missing multiple calls because of the way things are recorded as mutual aid or automatic aid. So I had to I ran one report that says, tell me all the times we went out of town and tell me all the times people came into town. It wasn't, for some reason, it wasn't getting everything. So I'm running two separate reports now. One report that says, tell me how many times we went out, and a separate report saying how many times people come in. And when I compare that to the actual incidents, it's accurate. So, yeah, we had way more people coming in than going out.
And then on Deputy Chief Valini's report, was there anything interesting, unusual?
Nothing unusual. There's just the commercial building permits continue to file into the town of Tilton. And if you notice, there's a lot of plan reviews on there. And there'll be a lot of I'm getting more. Seems like 1 or 2 a week plan reviews for buildings coming in or rehab.
The one on May 15th for 21, is that the old Chili's?
Nope. That is the maintenance facility for Stewart's
Oh,
down below. They're interested in adding overnight coverage. They have a new contract with the hospitals, so they are now the primary transfer ambulance for Concord Hospital, all 3 locations. And so they have to be within, I believe, respond within 20 minutes to an emergency response at the hospital. So they're not really meeting Franklin's. They can meet Concord, they can meet Laconia, so they're interested in putting living quarters at that. If you've ever seen, it's down kind of a little
The
below.
old glass.
no, I know exactly.
Yeah.
I was on planning board when that came.
Yeah, so they're looking to put sleeping facilities in that, and so we had a construction meeting on that.
Interesting.
Anybody else got anything? Got anything, Eric? Okay, let's move on. Old business. Looks like we signed the owner representative there.
I think we did one.
And I have a motion for the chief to sign that. Yeah, I think we did all of them, didn't we?
The owner's representative letter,
It's a-
representative.
It's up on that
He's
table.
got it.
Right here.
Okay, good. That's fine, good.
Thank you.
Let's move on to new business.
Do we have any new business now?
ahead.
No new business. Paul?
I'd like to query the commissioners as to what the chief's residency policy is at present.
What do you mean, where he lives, or?
No, what is the policy for the district as far as, yes, where the chief,
I believe,
Resides.
what was it?
It's a 20-mile radius from the headquarters is what's in my contract.
so what's in the bylaws of the district?
There's nothing in the bylaws that addresses that.
Okay, so is there any disqualifying distance that the chief could live from the center of, say, the fire station? At what point do we say the chief doesn't live close enough to the district? If there's nothing in the bylaws, is it just determined by the individual contract with?
I think we did have a contract with him when we signed it.
Yes.
We did have a contract that he had to live in town, which he did. And he, how long ago was it?
Last summer.
Last year.
Last summer, he had the opportunity to,
Okay, but there's nothing in the bylaws dictating that you have to live in town.
No, there's,
I think we did not, we did not do that.
there's nothing in the bylaws that.
Well, I might suggest that you, in anticipation of the chief's retirement, take a look at that and just make sure that, it's what you guys want. It's what's best for the district.
Yeah.
And let's not back ourselves into the corner because we have an overly restrictive policy. And maybe it would be, if it does need to be address it prior to the chief's retirement.
I think what we should do is go over it and look, reread it, and see if it makes sense.
There's nothing in the bylaws on the chief, under the fire chief as a residency requirement.
I think what's customarily done in the fire service in the state of New Hampshire is when fire department or fire district hires a new chief, that chief has a contract, and it's a negotiation process between the selectmen or the fire commissioners and that fire chief, and that's how it's meted out. Some contracts, as mine did in the beginning, require that they live within the fire district or within so many miles of the fire station. Some of them have no requirement whatsoever. It's up to whatever the commissioners at the time, or the selectmen at the time, or our city council at the time feels is appropriate to negotiate with that individual. It's a negotiation.
I think we did that, Paul. We did have a contract with you, and we did that. So, the candidate, we only had 3 candidates apply for that position. And I believe one was from Alaska.
That's a long drive to work.
And then the other one was out west. And I believe there was only 3 at the time that applied.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess my concern was just with the chief has announced his retirement. We know we have to fill that position. Just make sure that we're not overly restricted in our hiring policy. And it sounds like there is no residency policy. So just want to make sure. Thank you.
Do you have an opinion on that?
I do have an opinion. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
There should be no residency policy.
There should be what?
There should be no residency policy. Yeah, it would be great if the chief lived in town. I mean, that would be a huge benefit. I don't think it's a requirement for the position. I think in order to hire the best candidate, you need to pull from a larger pool. And I think the potential pool in Tilton and Northfield residents is a lot smaller than that of the surrounding communities. Now, I think you might place a mileage or a time limit or something such that, we're not racking up 100,000 miles a year on our vehicles. But, I mean, that's something that you guys could kind of discuss and determine what's reasonable, but my opinion is to not mandate residency for the chief or deputy chief positions.
I agree. I mean, although you have to set some type of guidelines. I mean, you don't want somebody living in Massachusetts coming up here every day.
But I think also you might consider defining those guardrails kind of beforehand. Or not necessarily etching them in stone, but at least having an idea of, you know, where your limit would be. Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Good to see you.
Take care. Likewise, sir.
Travel safe.
Yes, I will. I hope.
You'll see that email tonight, okay?
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Chief.
You very well.
Good night, Kathy.
Safe trip.
Keep smiling. Thanks, Sean. Night, John. Good.
Okay, move on, new business.
That was new business.
Or was. I guess I'm a little behind. Review of minutes of 5/2/23. Everybody ready?
I have read them. Make a motion that we approve the minutes of the Commissioners meeting of May 2nd.
Second.
And move in second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Come on. Any other business?
There's another 7 minutes.
May 8th, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of May 8th, 2023.
It's not on here.
If you look at the revised agenda that I gave you,
I thought it
Well,
was.
no, because there was only 2 copies. So apparently we didn't get one
I didn't get one.
I hand wrote it down, so.
I thought I wrote it down too.
I have it.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved in second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any other business?
There's
non-public.
non-public meeting minutes, 3 of them.
And then we've got the disposition reports as well. You can do that all under the same,
Do we need to go into non-public to discuss
to discuss what?
the lawsuit earlier? No? Okay. No. Are we gonna do that now, or are we gonna have another meeting?
Well, is everybody available next Monday? This room is, since the building committee meeting's been canceled.
I'm available because I was going to that meeting.
No lying out of that one.
I don't know.
Like, we can be renting boats to bikers?
Oh, that's after 12?
Yes,
I'm not available.
okay.
Well, I'd be available for like a half hour. I have a rooster.
For what?
I'd be available for a half hour. I have a rooster. Unless we met earlier in the day.
Well, I don't know if everybody can meet earlier in the day.
Well, it's a good
What's
opportunity.
earlier in the day?
I don't know. I'm off that day, so I don't care.
Oh,
Oh, well, if you want to meet earlier in the day, we'd probably have to do it at Center Street, because they use this room during the day for classes, so I don't know if it'd be available.
During the day on Monday?
Hmm.
I know some of us have to work in it.
Yeah, I work every day.
Work.
Everybody in this room works every day.
Well, he said he had the day off.
Yeah, well, I gotta work Saturday and Sunday, so.
is there a reason why we can't do it today?
Well, that's what I'm asking. I don't really want to have
It's
it set up.
not public, I don't see why we can't, we don't.
I mean, we've got a non-public posted. It's on here. So, it's up to you.
Yeah, I see no problem with that.
Bang it out then, let's get,
All right, so,
Do we need to go into non-public to review the non-public?
yes. And then, so we'd have to go in and come out and then go back in. Because you'd go in under C and come back out. Because under C, you would do the minutes and the disposition reports. And then you'd go back in under E, which would be consideration and negotiation of pending claims or litigation, blah, blah, blah. Yes, so those two.
Okay.
So I need to close this so I can write.
Do you need room?
No, no, you're fine. I just need to go like this, see?
Like a tap.
And could you kindly give one of these to each one of the commissioners, and then those are the disposition reports? Thank you. Now,
I'm looking at it down, I can see.
good grief. That's bad. Thank you, Sean. Now, can you show them how to
When it
do the
was like
report so
physical.
that?
Well, do we have to do the whole vote?
She said, can you see
Oh,
the
you have to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
She said,
Just make sure, all you have to do, she likes it when you hit,
Take my
no, if you hit
glasses
stop, it makes another
What would you
one.
want to
You
do?
hit record again, it'll
That's how
pause.
I read.
Just make sure it says pause.
As long as I don't have these on.
And then hit,
Just the
hit the right one,
Yeah.
pause and unpause it, it makes it
No,
easier
she
for
said
them when
that.
they do the minutes.
You can do that.
Yeah, 'cause I can read the chat.
Okay. Make a motion, we go to the non-public,
Yeah, read this.
Yeah.
7:02.
It's not long enough.
GCC, RSA G 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, in matter
Oh,
to discuss in
yeah.
would likely affect the diversity and reputation
Yeah.
of any person
No, it was
other than a member
skid
of the
steer
board,
bucket, the guy.
unless such a person requests an open
Wasn't
meeting,
big enough, wasn't wide,
This
you
is
gotta
what
go outside the tracks.
shall extend and
Some of the
include
tracks
any
don't
application
fall
for
in the
assistant
And,
or
he's coming up,
tax
so I told him
abatement
I'd take it back.
or whatever,
Bought it at
a
one.
waiver
Took care of that.
of a fee, fine, or other levy
Classmate called me.
if
They wanted
based
to have a
on
get-together,
ability to pay or
with several
as
classmates.
any
Just,
application.
He said, yeah, next Wednesday, 2 o'clock at the Nazwa. I said,
Right.
Roll call
no,
vote.
No, we need a
I won't be
second.
there.
Second.
Do they know it's biking?
I said, you know.
Somebody second it?
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Eric, yeah.
Well, they were gonna
It's
come
been
in
moved
by
second,
boat.
all
I
those
said,
in
"Look, the
favor?"
only way you're gonna get
Roll
in
call
there."
vote.
Roll call
And I
vote.
said,
Paul, yes.
my wife won't go on
Tim,
the big
yes.
lake in the boat. She'll go on winter school.
All set now?
Hey, Chief, could you stop the camera, please?
Yes.
Pause the recorder.
Don't plan on us being there.
Pause.
I'll make a motion to come out of non-public at 7:15.
Second.
Then move second. Do we have to do a roll call?
Yes.
Roll call, Paul, yes.
Tim, yes.
Eric, yes.
I make a motion to approve the
Then we
minutes.
can go back into.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 2nd non-public session,
Number 2.
Number 2.
number 2.
Second.
Move in second. All those in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Now,
We here go back in
Yes.
under, which one?
Are you still doing the other minutes things?
Yeah.
C,
No, we already did C.
you did all of C's?
We did all of Cs.
Now it's,
Which one is that?
well, the first one is legal.
Okay, let's
Second
do,
one, the second one is real estate.
all right, so let's do the first one, which is RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, parentheses, L.
That's an L.
That's an L.
All right, looks like an I.
I know, but it's an L.
Why don't they put a little
I'll make a motion to go back into non-public. I'm gonna shut this off. Under RSA 9,
Bottom.
yep, RSA 9(1)(a), number 3, Roman numeral 2L, consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel, either in writing or oral, to one of the or more members of the public body, even when legal counsel is not present.
Second.
We do roll call.
Yes.
Paul, yes.
Tim, yes.
Eric, yes. 7:16.
Motion?
Make a motion to
Come on, I'm public.
come out of non-public session
8:02.
at 8:02 PM.
Second the motion.
Roll call. Paul, yes.
Tim, yes.
Eric, yes.
I make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session
Until the matter is
until the matter is resolved.
resolved. Second.
Moved in second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 And then,
Do you need these back now?
oh, wait a minute, there's one more.
Yeah, we gotta
We
go.
gotta do one more.
Oh, we
It's,
didn't move to approve those minutes, did we?
you did in non-public.
Let's do it forward.
Yeah, you can do that. You did, didn't you?
Should we
You
do it forward?
reconvened and you sealed them.
Yeah, but that was minutes, but not.
Those are
Yeah, I
the
guess, yeah.
Minutes of the May 2nd.
Right.
So we make a motion to seal, okay.
You did,
May 2nd, then we have to do that separately.
these are all,
Okay.
now you have to do the other session, the
D.
D.
Which one, D?
D.
Oh,
Okay, I make a motion to go back into non-public at 8:04. And that RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Is it 2?
2D.
2D. Okay. In consideration and interest of sale or lease of realty or personal property, which is discussed in public would likely benefit a party or parties whose interests are adverse to those of the general community.
Second.
Do we do a roll call? on anything?
Yes.
Yes.
Roll call. Paul, yes.
Tim, yes.
Eric, yes.
At what time? Oh, you did already said 8:04.
It's 8:05 right now.
So all,
8:06.
I don't know.
Roll call. Paul, yes.
Tim,
Last
yes.
time I did
Eric,
it,
yes.
it said we were in public.
I'll make a motion
And we were recording. I
to
don't
approve
know.
the minutes of the non-public session number 3 of the May 2nd, 2023 meeting.
And to,
We have to approve it first and then make the motion afterwards.
Mhm.
oh, I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session number 3 of the May 2nd, 2023 meeting until the matter is resolved.
Resolved.
I'll second it. It's been moved second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're still in public session. Oh, you need these back.
I do.
Manifest is. She's got these back.
Oh, I would have done it.
No, no, that'd be, you take that
Everybody
off,
needs
the
to-
rest of that off.
Okay. Now we put the manifest left.
Did you do the
Did
disposition?
you do those?
Right there.
Good.
Oh, this one.
Okay.
So they just took that left?
That's it.
No,
We got public comment.
well, if you don't mind, all right, I have a comment, I'm leaving.
Thanks. Take the vote.
It's good.
I'm leaving now. Covered all the important stuff.
Okay.
You know,
Radios go in next Tuesday.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, and then I got looking, and you're absolutely right, that's one of the new heads.
I'll make a motion.
I didn't realize it got
Don't go
updated.
anywhere.
Didn't pay attention, so I'm good.
So,
Wait a minute,
I'm good.
somebody needs to second it.
I'll second the
Exactly what we
motion.
do.
Exactly, and I thought
Motion been made to
somebody,
adjourn, all those in favor?
I think
Aye.
we went digital.
We are adjourned at 8:08 PM.